In the last 5 years, the world has witnessed historic events that have shaken geopolitical and economic foundations. From the COVID-19 pandemic to conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, each event has left an indelible mark on contemporary history. However, among these titans of change, a new event could have a significant impact on the global economic and financial situation in the coming years: the potential economic measures Japan might implement. This is Money Dynamo. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any of my videos. Discussions about the global economic future focus on recent news regarding deliberations by the Bank of Japan concerning interest rates. This seemingly technical but far-reaching component could have repercussions worldwide, with particular attention on the United States. To fully understand the context and potential implications of these decisions, it's necessary to go back approximately 7 years, to the tumultuous year of 2016. Back then, the global landscape was undoubtedly chaotic. US presidential elections, the UK voting to leave the European Union, and the beginning of the heating up of the US economy with subsequent inflationary pressures. Amidst this backdrop, the central banks of the United States and Japan played prominent roles in managing their respective nations' economies. The US Federal Reserve, facing the risk of uncontrolled inflation, initiated a gradual process of increasing interest rates, which were near zero. The interest rate, essentially the cost of borrowing money for a specific period, plays a crucial role in managing inflation. This increase aimed to encourage saving and discourage immediate consumption, thereby reducing inflation. On the other hand, in Japan, the situation was diametrically opposite as they grappled with the challenge of negative inflation, where prices were constantly declining. Negative inflation in Japan presented a unique dilemma. While it could be interpreted positively as an apparent decrease in costs, it generated a pernicious cycle. The population, anticipating that prices would continue to fall, preferred saving over spending, leading to a decrease in purchases, a drop in sales, and ultimately hindering economic growth. This situation was reflected in Japan's production, which began to significantly decline from 2012 onwards. By 2015, Japan's gross domestic product, GDP, had fallen almost 30% compared to 2012 levels. While other countries, like the United States, chose to increase interest rates to control inflation, Japan kept theirs at low levels, even reaching negative interest rates. Negative interest rates, a phenomenon that may sound unusual, imply that instead of receiving interest for depositing money in a bank, depositors have to pay interest. This becomes an incentive for people to stop saving and start consuming. The implementation of negative interest rates was part of a broader experiment called yield curve control, YCC, where the Bank of Japan sought to manage interest rates to stimulate consumption and investment. Understanding the yield curve is fundamental to grasp how governments generate income through bond issuance. Bonds are instruments through which the government raises money from the population, committing to return the principal plus interest over a specific period. Managing this curve involves balancing short-term and long-term interest rates to encourage consumption and investment. However, in 2024, Japan is considering abandoning negative interest rates, raising concerns among economists about how this could affect the United States and the rest of the world. The reason behind this concern lies in the popularity of US Treasury bonds, considered safe investments worldwide. If Japanese bond interest rates surpass those of the United States, it could prompt a shift in market participants' investment preferences, affecting loans and the US's ability to secure financing. This dynamic is particularly relevant due to the importance of US Treasury bonds in global markets. Investors worldwide rely on the stability of these bonds, backed by the solid reputation of the United States to fulfill its financial obligations. A change in investors' preference toward Japanese bonds could have significant ramifications. The Bank of Japan, through its yield curve control experiment, has had a considerable impact on interest rates, keeping them at levels aimed to stimulate the economy. The yield curve, by controlling short and long-term rates, influences the behavior of investors and borrowers, thus affecting consumption and investment. Japan's shift towards positive interest rates raises questions about the future of the global economy. If investors favor Japanese bonds over US ones, the United States could face higher interest rates. This scenario, with increased borrowing costs, can slow down investment and economic growth. Companies, governments, and everyday citizens accustomed to lower interest rates could face financial challenges. The rise in interest rates in Japan is not just a local issue, it has global ramifications. The United States, being one of the world's largest economies, will feel the impact of significant changes in global interest rates. The competition between Japanese and US bonds may influence financial market dynamics, affecting borrowing costs and consequently, investment and economic growth. As Japan's economic history takes a new direction towards positive interest rates, attention turns to the future with a mix of anticipation and concern. In the intricate fabric of global finance, Japan's decision to move away from negative rates raises crucial questions about how the global economy will unfold in the coming years. The global financial market witnesses a delicate balance as the popularity of US Treasury bonds is challenged by the possibility of more attractive yields in Japan. The competition between these two financial powerhouses could trigger seismic changes in investor preferences, altering market dynamics and directly affecting borrowing costs. The United States, being one of the world's largest economies, faces the risk of higher interest rates, which could slow down investment and hence economic growth. Companies that have thrived in lower interest rate environments could face significant financial challenges. Governments and ordinary citizens, accustomed to lower borrowing costs, could feel the impact on their finances. The interconnection of global economies becomes even more evident in this landscape, highlighting the significance of a country's economic decisions on the global stage. Economists closely monitor the implications of Japan's transition towards positive interest rates, aware that this choice may trigger domino effects worldwide. As we move into the coming years, uncertainties and opportunities intertwine in the fabric of the global economy. Japan's economic decisions become a critical chapter in the book of global financial history, and how these narratives unfold will significantly determine the course of the world economy. The global economic future is at a critical juncture, where the decisions of one country can reverberate worldwide. Economists are attentive to the evolution of the situation in Japan, aware that interest rate decisions can trigger domino effects in the global economy. As we move towards the next years, the interconnection of global economies becomes evident, and what happens in one part of the world can have significant consequences in other regions. Here ends the video, my friends. If you liked the video, do not hesitate to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to not miss any of our trips. Until next time,